Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White. Tonight, we have a very special guest that's coming back to do a part two to a show that was done previously. We have Mr. Adrian in Havelock, one of the top salesmen here in the country. And I'm going to tell you guys a little bit something about Adrian again. He's Caribbean's number one master sales trainer. He's the author of two books, certified BMW group trainer with the BMW group. He's a speaker and he's also an entrepreneur. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Adrian Havelock to the show.
Hi,
Welcome.
everyone.
How are you?
I'm good, Charles. How are you?
I am excellent. Thanks for coming back to the show. We definitely had a great show with you the first time. Sorry we had to cut it short, but I'm glad that you're back.
I'm happy to be back as well. I love the show.
Is there anything you'd like to add to what I just spoke of as your bio?
No, I think you covered it quite well, just basically training, sales training, speaking, and the books. I think you covered it well.
Well, thank you so very kindly, and we'll just go ahead and we'll just dive right on into it and pick up where we left off at.
Exactly.
That's the last time I know when you were here, you were talking about some of the things that people should use when it comes to doing sales. That is especially within like the dealership, which is where your specialty is. And we were talking a little bit about. Well, I asked a question. I know that the last time about using a CRM system, but what I wanted to know, where we left off at, is what advice would you give to someone looking to start their own B2B business in today's competitive market landscape?
Right. I remember trying to answer that before we encountered some of our technical difficulties. And the thing is, if someone is trying to get into the B2B landscape of entrepreneurship, right, you need to understand that in any business, the foundational principle of making the business successful is knowing how to sell, knowing how to get sales coming in. And if it is that you learn a course, you practice in it, you get advice from people who are successful in the field, you will get techniques that you could utilize in your day-to-day operations when you speak with customers on how to sell your product or your service. But that is just the foundational principle. In terms of being able to know how to brand yourself is the next thing, because sales today or in 2024 is not the same type of sales that we would have done 10 years ago. Now, as an entrepreneur, as a salesperson, you need to know how to create a brand and market that brand. So now marketing comes into play here. And if it is that you could create a brand and start to market that brand, then people will start to get to know you. They'll know your brand, they'll get to trust you, and they buy into what you have and who you are long before they even come to buy that product or service from you. So when you get into that sales conversation, those sales techniques, you won't have to apply everything now because they're already halfway sold, 50% sold in their mind already, just because they're coming to you. So as an entrepreneur, you're getting into that field, that B2B business, know how to sell, get some sales techniques, know how to create a brand, and know how to market that brand online. Sometimes it's just by you talking, using your face, your voice, that alone could in itself could create that big brand. And I believe that is very important. It's a vital part of getting into entrepreneurship, into business.
So let me just let me go a little bit further with that because that was really that was some really good information there. So let's
Yeah.
just say, when a person is actually when you're wanting to brand your business, what are some of those techniques that you would use when it comes to learning the sales and then bringing that over into the branding process itself? What are some of those things that people should be thinking about doing or learning to do?
Utilizing online platforms, because now almost everyone who is a consumer are on their mobile phone consuming content. And if they're consuming content, that means their attention span is here in their phones, right? Looking at their phones like this. And you need to be there where they're at. So you got to go where they are so that they can find you, they can see you without even having to search. You need to pop up on their news feeds. So when you have to build that brand, you have to create content. So get accustomed to creating content and putting yourself out there. Or if you have the budget for it, you create ads and put the ads out there. But a lot of people who's getting into entrepreneurship, who's now starting off, they don't have a budget for ads. They don't have a budget to pay an agency, an advertising agency, or hire a marketing team. You got to do it yourself. So the best way to create content and be authentic is by creating that content yourself. You take your phone out, right? And you start to create content. Hey, check this out. Look at this. Here's a tip. Look at what you can do here. You try this. You create that content and you post it up and you be consistent with it. You do it every day or every other day because some days may be busy, right? But you be consistent with that 3-4 times a week, right? Over a couple weeks, you're gonna have a brand that would start becoming known. People would start recognizing you because they're seeing you. You're here, right? So when you're here and they're seeing you, eventually they're already starting to buy into who you are, into that product, that service. And by product or service, I mean you, not necessarily what you're selling. Because you, as a brand, you're a product, you're a service. And when they buy into you, anything you sell after that and you're looking for it or they need it, you want them to think about you first. Adrian Havelock, I provide services in training and speaking. So when they want that, what's the first name they got to think about when it comes to mind? It's got to be my name because they would always see me on their feeds. I use LinkedIn a lot. Maybe depending on your product or service, that may be one of the platforms you can use, or you could also use Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, right? But I do most of my work on LinkedIn because from a B2B perspective, you have a lot of the business people there and you want the business people to be seeing your content. So it's a very good platform to also start off and create a brand.
Oh, great piece of information. Um, I mean, no, that really means a lot because I think when we here last, I was telling you that I know I just had just created a TikTok profile,
Right.
and so now I've got it created. I've done one TikTok, but in that one TikTok, what's amazing is the number of people that all of a sudden start following,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I was like, that's something. That is really something. And so now I'm actually trying to come up with other creative ways, as you was just mentioning, as to how to really reel people in, not real, I shouldn't say reel them in, but to bring people more to my platforms because I want them to see exactly what it is that I have. And so I'm just wondering, do you think there's a such as overkill?
No, I don't think there's overkill because there's so many other people creating content that even if you create a lot of content and you put a lot of content out there, the people who's consuming the content, they're gonna get the content from everyone else as well. So in terms of overkill, no. Unless if you're email blasting people and you're emailing them every day, that's overkill, right? But if you're creating content and you're on an online platform, it's not because not everyone will see your content at the same time. People go online on social platforms when they have the time to in their own timing, and then when they go on they will see it, they will consume that content. So go right ahead. In fact, I encourage creating content more. You just started with one TikTok, don't worry about the strategy to try to reel them in as yet. Just start creating the content. Let the algorithm realize that you're a content creator so that when you post and you post and you post, it will start to show more people it because you're being consistent. The consistency is what wins in this game. Creating that content and continuously doing it is what's going to help you build that brand, what's going to help you get the people buying into who you are and the products and the services that you have. So going back to the point from before, getting into business as an entrepreneur, somebody who don't have the resources to hire a marketing team or an agency, just be consistent.
Mhm. How do you stay motivated and maintain resilience when faced with setbacks in your entrepreneurial journey?
I look for new opportunities and new creative ways to do things differently. And that, I think, focuses my attention on being productive and trying something new rather than what's not working. Because when you realize that you're in a stagnant position, you're not moving, or you realize that things not working out and you're not getting results that you want, you have two choices to make: either sit back and cry about it, or try to do something different and leverage yourself, and step up the game. And I think by choosing the direction to step up and change the approach, it distracts the brain from thinking about the things that's not working. And that in itself keeps you motivated, because now you're being productive, you're focused on a different tasks, and it takes less effort to do that than to mentally have to force yourself to think about what to do next.
So in your sales training,
Yeah.
and let's say you have more than, let's say, one dealership, or there's more than one company that you deal with, and let's say there's a cross sectional of three different industries.
Right.
How is it that when you go into those establishments, how do you get the people motivated to want to do the work that the people brought you in to get them to do?
Oh, well, that's simple. I tie it back to their personal lives. I start off the training by asking them the question, it could be anything along the lines of, raise your hand if you're here today and you want to achieve a certain level of success in your life. And people would raise their hands, right? And then we get down into deeper and deeper. So what are the things you want to do? A lot of the times people think, hey, I want to get into business. So I want to have my own business. I want to start this business. And then I tell them, well, here's what. You're not here in this training because your company wants to send you to the training, or you're being forced to attend this training because the company is sending you. Be selfish and take this to yourself. The skills that you learn in this training, you could adapt it to your personal life, and you could adapt it to when you're ready to start that new business. And they're like, that's a good idea. And then they buy into it. They get motivated to be a part of the training because I show them how they can use it in their lives, not just in their work lives, but throughout. So it benefits them, not just on a personal level, but it also benefits the company that hired me to train them, because now they're getting to practice, use these tools, see it work, see the success of it. The company gets the result of better salespeople, better performing sales, better results. And then the spin-off is maybe the next couple of years, if they decide to change jobs or if they decide to start their business, they have the tools and they have the experience to go out there and do it.
So, has there been any of your former clients that some of their people are now working with you in your journey?
I wouldn't say they're working with me, but they're definitely working on their own journey. Yes, over the last, I've been doing this 12 years now. Yeah, 12 years I've been doing training officially. And I have people that message me back and say, hey, I started the company, I started business. Your training is what inspired me. And this was not like a training that I did with them last month. This is like a training I did with them like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I'm like, well, that's really good to know that it inspired you and it's still inspiring you to start this journey. You're starting this business. Congratulations. And their follow-up line is, Adrian, when I hire staff, I'm going to call you back to train them again. So I'm like, okay, future business from it again, because they believe in my product, right? So it works out. Yeah. So it's not that they're with me in the journey, it's that they've created their own journeys along the way. And that, I think, is a testament to, me feeling proud about that.
That's making impact.
It is.
That's impact. What ethical considerations do you emphasize when teaching entrepreneurship, particularly in sales and business development?
Don't lie. Don't lie at all. If you don't know something, tell the customer you don't know it. Tell them you don't have the information, and you would find out and go back to them. I don't want people to think that because you're talking to a customer, don't think as if you're going to lose the sale because you don't know something. That was maybe a thing that was very popular in the past, long before online social media and all these things like that, where you could have probably fibbed a little bit, tell some untruths and you get a sale, and then you move on to the next customer. But in today's world, it's easy for people to do research and find out the truth even before they come to you. And if they come to you and they know the truth, and then you're trying to tell them something else, they will realize that, hey, this guy is a scam artist, right? He's trying to take my money and he's not being honest. So that's one of the things that I make sure I teach them. Don't lie. You don't know something, tell them, hey, I don't know, but I will find out and I will come back to you, and make sure you get back to them. You made a promise to get back to them. Make sure you get back to them. Just by calling them and letting them know, hey, I did do the research, I found out about it, and this is what the information. They will appreciate that. And the reason why I tell them this is because I've had that experience. Back in my days when I was a salesman, long before I started doing this training, I had a customer. I used to sell cars, right? And this particular customer started, it was a very good interaction. He wasn't mean or anything like that. He was very pleasant and stuff. We went out for a test drive, and he was asking me a lot of questions. And then he got quite technical. Now, I'm not a technician. I'm not a mechanic, right? But when he got so technical, I told him, I said, here, what? Those particular questions, I don't know the answer to it. I can't give you an answer because I myself, I'm not sure how to answer it. But I asked one of the technicians, and I'll come back to you. And that was like 3 o'clock on an evening. I remember it vividly. So after the test drive, we went back to the office. And by 9 o'clock the next morning, I gave him a call and I said, hey, what? I spoke to the technicians. This was the information. And he said, Adrian, I appreciate that. I already knew the answer. I just wanted to see if, you'd be honest with me. I was like, okay, I was taken aback by that. He said, but because you went and you found out the information and you got back to me so quickly, are you available today to pass to collect a check for the deposit? So,
Oh, wow.
I think he said he was testing me to just be able to give me the sale, and I won the test. So I passed the test. So I felt good about that, and I use that as an example to this very day in my trainings. Be honest, don't lie.
Mm. How has the digital transformation impacted B2B sales strategies, and how should entrepreneurs adapt to these changes?
Well, it has impacted it in such a way that it's made it a lot easier to grow a brand and reach a lot more people. So, in order for people to implement and utilize these digital transformations, get familiar with the technology, get familiar with using social platforms, get familiar with utilizing Google. If it is that you have to be more technical, SEO and stuff like that, do these short courses that they have online to teach you about it. And then go and use what you learn so that you know how to reach more people. Before these digital transformations took place, if I had to reach 100 people, I'd have to take envelopes and letters and put it in letters, seal it, go to the post office, mail it out, wait 2 weeks, and then start calling these people. Whereas now I could do one post on LinkedIn and reach 1,000 people, 5,000 people, right? Within a matter of hours. So
Yep.
digital transformation has made it quicker, it's made it easier, it's made it smoother. And you can, if you don't understand something, go on YouTube and just look it up. It will show you exactly how to utilize a platform, how to navigate something, how to do a post, and follow it from there.
Oh, wow. So, just even in that whole entire process, like, what would you recommend to a new person, a new entrepreneur that maybe have missed one of those steps? If they needed to come back and make a change, what would you recommend that they do, and how would they fix that kind of quickly before it got into the wrong direction?
Well, I would. This is my belief. My belief is go ahead and make the mistake, because when
Mm.
you make the mistake, you realize what not to do. You learn what not to do, so that the next time you attempt it, you're not going to attempt it the same way. So it's a bit of an experimentation because everybody has different speaking styles and selling styles. And even if you may learn a course and I may learn a course, the way we apply what we learn would be different, right? So my recommendation is accept mistakes. Be okay with making mistakes. Don't worry about trying to rectify the mistake too quickly, because sometimes you have to look at these things like if it's a marathon and not a sprint, right? So when you
Right.
when you approach the building of the brand and the strategies to try to reach out to customers, sometimes you just have to go forward with the mistake, make the failure, attempt it again with a different approach until you get the approach that works for you, and then you stick with that and you utilize that because that's the one that works the best for you. All right. So
Oh,
go forward with it.
so what are some effective ways to build a personal brand as an entrepreneur, especially in the realm of sales?
Oh, well, definitely content creation. In the realm of sales, salespeople nowadays have to be content creators and marketers all in one, right? Because now you're building a brand, you want people to know you for that brand. You're selling houses, you're a real estate agent. Create content to be one of the best known real estate agents out there. When people think about buying a condo or a property or a townhouse, they want to think about your name first. You're getting into insurance, you're getting into car sales, you're selling tools, you're selling machinery and equipment, whatever it may be. Create content and
Mhm.
put it out there, and let people get to know who you are. It's the fastest way to get people to start buying into you. And when they walk into the establishment, you want them to ask for, hey, I want to talk to Charles, is he in the office today? Right? You want that kind of impact, you want that kind of reach. So content creation, utilizing modern tools. I don't care, everybody has a cell phone. I don't care who you are, you have a cell phone, you have access to Facebook or Instagram. You create content and you put it out there. We should not just be consuming the content that's on our phones, we should be creating the content there so other people could consume it as well.
Now, I noticed you've mentioned content creation like an enormous amount of times.
Oh yeah.
So I guess it's safe to say that here in the 21st century, that content creation makes up for the shortfall of marketing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You see, a marketing companies have two departments. They have sometimes a sales department, they have a marketing department, right?
Mhm.
And the marketing department, they're very good at what they do. They do a lot of market research and they create stories around their brands or products to get people to buy into it. But then you have a sales team here trying to sell that, right? If the sales team is also doing the same thing, but adding a face to it, right? Then people would know, hey, Adrian does that, and I need to get some of these products. Let me call Adrian. And that is the piece of the puzzle that we need to start working with. Content creation and sales and marketing, it basically goes hand in hand as a salesperson or as an entrepreneur if you have your own business and you're starting your own business.
Okay. How important is networking in your career? And what advice do you have for building a strong professional network?
Well, in sales and business, networking is very important because it's not about how much people you know, it's about how much people know you. But to add to that and go deeper, it's how much people you want to know you, quality people that you are reaching out to, that you are connecting with, that you are networking with. Are you going to the right events where these people are, who you want to rub shoulders with, right? Or are you going to the parties? Unless if your product or service aligns with people who are at the parties, then don't just go to the parties. Go to the events where those ideal clients are. So to even get to that point, you need to think about who's that ideal customer of yours. Who's that individual? Create a profile of that individual. Who's that individual that's going to definitely do business with you, right? Create a list of characteristics of what this individual or these individuals may possess. And then think about, where do these individuals spend a lot of their time? What are the type of events that they go to? And you know what? Go to it. Buy a ticket and attend that particular event, that speaking conference, or whatever it may be. The money you spend to attend that one event, I guarantee you're going to get at least one customer or two customers that's going to pay back and cover the cost of that ticket, anyways. So
Oh,
invest in yourself by going to these types of events and conferences where they are. And when you network with them, you talk with them, they get a face to the name. And to add to on top of that, because you've been creating content before that, maybe when you go to these events, they'll recognize who you are and they'll start approaching you. That's what you want. You don't want to go into an event and then try to network with somebody, and then you're forced to try to create a conversation with them. But if you're creating content and they know who you are, they're gonna come up to you and they're gonna start talking with you and say, "I know who you are. I've seen your videos. I like your stuff." That happens with me. I've
mhm.
seen your videos. In fact, Charles, that's how you got to me. You said, Adrian, I like your content. I like what you do. You need to come
Right.
on this podcast, right? It's the
Yes,
same impact you're going to have.
exactly. Oh, hopefully, I hope I can blow my brand up a whole lot quicker because a lot of this I actually was doing unbeknownst to myself, but basically, just learning from the last show and now it's like it's helping me to form and shape not just the way I think about how things should be, but when it comes out, how it comes out, and where it's going to. Because I've actually got lucky enough to where I would say there's an enormous amount of people now that are actually doing just that. Where it's
Right.
like, oh hey, I saw your show. I'm like, really? But it makes great conversation, and you're absolutely right.
It does, it does. And the best part is, Charles, you have a lot of content here already. You can just take all these different contents, all these different interviews, chop them up into little pieces, and put out a 30-second clip, a 20-second clip with something, a little teaser here and there. And that is gonna explode on your TikTok, on your LinkedIn, everywhere. It's just gonna explode as you remain consistent. So
Yes, sir.
yeah, yeah, do that. And people who's looking at this, do the same thing. Create content, put it out there. It doesn't matter. You don't need to have it professional. You don't have to have a big background with a studio with proper lighting. Sometimes it's just you and your cell phone and you create something very simple. The authenticity, the realness in it is much more attractive than someone who's too forced to remain stiff and try to be very professional. No, no. Perfection is sometimes what makes people very afraid of putting content out there. And my advice is don't be afraid to put the content out there. Put the mistakes. It makes it more real, and it makes people realize that you're more authentic, and they make them trust you more.
Mhm.
I'm speaking here and I'm making grammatical errors. I'm saying and ahs and stuff. Don't worry about the and ahs. Say the and ahs. It feels real, like a real conversation. That's what you want. You want to create that connection, and it spills over into everything else. The networking events, everything, the sales conversations, everything just flows smoothly from there.
Can you share an example of a mentor or role model who has influenced your approach to sales or entrepreneurship?
I've had quite a few mentors and role models. The thing is, which one to choose to select from, and if I can share their name as well. Um, I would say one of my earliest mentors was actually a work colleague of mine, and I don't think in the earlies he knew he was a mentor to me. Right? When I had first started off sales, I was 19 years old and I had no college degree, no college education or anything. I started right out of high school, and I went into sales at the age of 19. And I think I was making all the mistakes that I could have been making in the book when it came to sales. Because this was before I even decided to invest in myself and go to a sales course and learn how to do selling. I was observing. Now he was doing really really well in sales, right, in the company, and I was observing how he was speaking with the customers and everything that he was saying with them. And over a couple of weeks, I found a pattern that he was started to say the same things. He started to ask the same questions in a particular order. And because he started doing that, I found a formula. I found like a hint of a pattern. No, in my mind, I didn't realize it was a sales process, right? But it was a sales process. But I started to discover how he did it. And I started to kind of copy some of the things that he was doing and applying it with the people I was talking to. And it was working, right? So,
Oh,
so unofficially, he was kind of mentoring me without knowing it, right? And
mhm.
that's what I want to share as well, is that if you're getting into entrepreneurship and sales, look at the people who are the best at what they're doing in whatever it is you want to do, and then try experiment with some of the techniques that they're using yourself and see if it works. So if you want to get into selling machinery or safety supplies, look for somebody who's the best at what they do in selling machinery or safety supplies. Observe them, follow them online on social media, copy some of the techniques, apply it yourself, use your own style, twist it into your own style, and you'd be surprised. You'd probably have a winning formula already.
Oh wow. That is interesting. But so like, you know, how sales itself is just special. I'm not saying especially, it's like it's way different than what most people are used to when they're talking about careers and things that they want to do. And so with it being the way it is, some people aren't really people person. People, they're not people. So is that something that people can learn, or should that be something that's naturally innate in a person?
It's both, because you can learn to you can sales, the art of selling is a learnable, it's a teachable skill. Otherwise, if it wasn't, I wouldn't have had a job. Right? So
Okay.
I would be unemployed. But it's teachable. And the thing is, it's like learning a sport, right? At first, you may not know how to play soccer, you may not know how to play cricket, you may not know how to play baseball, whatever it may be, right?
Mhm.
But with practice, you develop this skill. You understand how to control the equipment, you understand how to control the movement, and you get better with it. Selling is the same thing. You may not have the people skills, you may not, or at least you may not think you do, right? But as you start to learn the skills and you start to practice it, and by practicing it would be role playing, right? You
Mhm.
start to understand how it works, the same way you understand how to do the movement in a sport. So when you practice that over time, you get better and better and better, which is why it's a learnable skill. It's a teachable skill. So you could be a very good people person as well, but you may not know how to sell because you may talk too much. And you don't want to talk yourself out of a sale either. So the learning the process helps you know how to slow down and have control. The same way like you're playing football and you know how to control the ball, you need to know how to control the conversation. Right? So you need to
Right.
know when to stop, when to turn. Same way.
Wow. Um, you know, um, I'm soaking some of this in, if you want to know the truth. Because I think when you talk about being a creator, I'm a very good creator. And so, it's like in picking up on some of these things that you're giving out, and I'm sure that there are people out that's listening to the show are doing the same thing, but that's a very special this is very special stuff that you're talking about, because this is not like just the everyday run of the mill, because you still got to come up with the way in which the approach itself is going to be able to captivate the audience.
Yeah.
And so, like, for those that still have, and I know you say you just have to like just do what you're going to do when you create, but I've really come across now as of lately a lot of people that are really introverted.
Right.
And for them, they just really absolutely say, I'm not going to do that. I just want to do a job.
Yeah.
How do we convince these people that with all the creativity that they have, that they should actually be out in the front? I know a lot of people like this.
You can't change someone if their mind's made up on something. Sometimes you have to let them stick with what their mind's made up with because they may be more successful at that. So if they
Mhm.
say I want to be in the back end and be a creator in the back end, maybe their career might not be sales. Maybe they could be more in the marketing side of things where they're behind the artwork, doing the artwork and giving you the marketing material, or being a creative person, a designer working for a company. And then you have salespeople that would support them and to be able to put it out there and sell it, right? Not everybody is built for sales. Sales and entrepreneurship has a lot of challenges. It has a lot of roadblocks that you're going to meet along the way. And if you're very good at it, it means that you have a lot of resilience. And a lot of times, people who realize that they can't do it, they know to themselves that that's a type of resilience that they don't have, but they're stronger in a different area. And you shouldn't convince or force them to get into something that they're probably not strong in, but try to understand what are their strengths and let them harness those strengths. So here, what we could be a team, but you would be the creative genius when it comes to the material and the artwork, but I'll
Mhm.
be the genius when it comes to the selling and the talking, right? And the other guy could be the genius with how to develop the logistics behind it. You understand?
Right.
Creativity comes in a lot of different ways, and you need to understand what way that person may be strong. So it's not a one size fits all kind of scenario.
So how what's the best technique to team build? Because that sounded like team building.
Um, Again, when it comes to team building, there's thousands of different ways you can do team building, right? Because it's all dependent on the different dynamics in the team, or the challenges of the team, or the industry or the company, whatever it may be. And based on that, there are different ways to do the team building. Sometimes team building could be something as just hanging out after work. Sometimes team building needs to be a proper training, right?
Right.
Sometimes team building just needs to be getting everybody involved in a meeting and hearing them out and hearing their contributions frequently enough, right? Brainstorming a session. It could come in many different ways. I would advise to mix it up, have different things like that. What I just called out there, the brainstorming, the after work hanging out, mix it up. And I think that that would create a very good dynamic. The open communication is key. Uh, Team building really really works well when communication is successful, and they have to learn to communicate with each other well. And if they can do that, I think the overall objective of making a company successful or making a team successful would be achieved.
Hmm. So what are some common challenges new entrepreneurs face in B2B sales, and how can they overcome them?
Or dealing with rejection, that is the biggest one, right? When a newcomer comes into sales, or a new person comes into entrepreneurship, and they start their business and they face rejection, it's not an easy thing mentally and emotionally. And I think that that is something that you really need to work yourself up to understand that this is just part of the process, and if I stick with it and I push forward and I make the mistakes and I improve on those mistakes and I learn what not to do, eventually I will see success. Again, I'm coming back to the marathon analogy. It's not a sprint, right? You're not going to win every single time, but rejection is something that people fear. And when they face it, it feels like a burden on them. And that is one of the main challenges that new entrepreneurs face when they're getting into business or they're getting into sales, is that rejection, but how to deal with that rejection and move forward, move on. Um, Another major challenge that we see is the implementation of these digital technologies, right? The digital transformation. You have a lot of people who've been really good at sales for a while. Now, because the world has changed and the way people consume content has changed, and the way people buying habits, buying behaviors have changed. Um, it's hard for salespeople or new entrepreneurs to make the shift, make the adaptation, because they knew I was doing it a certain way and it's been working like this for a long time. But now I have to change it. Why change it? In most cases, it's because it's probably not as effective as it used to be, right? So you need to adapt to the changing world. And I think those are the two biggest challenges new entrepreneurs would face for sure.
I want to do a quick lightning round with you. I've got
Definitely.
10 terms. And in these 10 terms, I want you to just tell me the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear these terms.
Okay.
All right. You ready? Okay. Car,
Commission.
money,
Bank.
Facebook,
um, Retail.
running,
Heart rate.
writing,
Cadence.
sales,
Success.
business,
Growth.
employee,
Company.
employer,
Leader.
creator.
um, oh Creator. My mind went blank with that one. I want to, all right, genius. Genius was what I was thinking, but the word wasn't coming to my mouth. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's like with all of these terms, and they basically run into the sales realm.
Yeah.
How important do you think these terms would be to new entrepreneurs or people that are into sales right now?
Well, I think it's very important because they're all related, right?
Mhm.
Everything, even the running, right, and the right, all of that are interrelated. Heart rate, the cadence, everything involves movement.
Exactly.
When you think about money, when you think about sales, when you think about employer, employee, all those words that you just called there, everything ties back to movement. And it's like the world. The world is moving. It keeps going around. The moon goes around as well. All the planets goes around the sun, right? So the entire solar system is moving. The earth is moving. Plants are growing, right?
Mhm.
Um, Without movement, you have no growth. And
Right.
if you keep moving, you will see growth. Despite setbacks, despite roadblocks, despite making mistakes,
Mhm.
keep moving and keep moving forward. In
Mhm.
fact, fail fast, fail and fail forward, right? And you will see a lot of growth.
Yes,
Doesn't
sir.
matter where you start.
Um, how do you manage the balance between work and personal life given the demands of entrepreneurship and sales?
Um, Creating a schedule, right? I utilize my digital calendar a lot. The digital calendar reminds me of things that I have to do. It gives me prompts, sends me push notifications, but it also allows me time to block off time when I don't want to do work, when I want to do other activities. I want to hang out, I want to do something recreational, a hobby. I block it out in my calendar. So I think by having that schedule or creating that schedule gives you structure. Uh, I go to the gym at least 3 times a week, right? I try to go for four, but three, I think three is the average.
Mhm.
I have times in the calendar that's blocked out for that already. Usually it's on a morning, right? That structure helps you with the structure of your business as well because it puts into play an agenda of things to do for the day or the week, and it helps you follow that agenda. I have to jump on a call with Charles at 6 p.m. I know that it's in my calendar and it's part of my agenda, and I'm also mentally prepared to jump on that call. So it's not hitting me blindsided. So that structure is what it really works for me. Some people don't work with structure; they work with chaos. But the chaos works for them because it's more productive. It's like they're busy doing something, something else hits them, but they jump at it, they do it quickly, and then they get back to what they're doing. It seems chaotic, but in a way, I would like to think that that's their structure as well. It's how they're structured, it's how they are wired that makes it work for them as well. But find your structure, and however that structure works, follow it. Follow it.
So, when it comes to the sales industry in general, are you saying that structure makes you that much better, or does structure helps you to get better?
I think it helps you. It doesn't make you get better, right? Because the only thing that can make you get better is you, right?
Mhm.
It's just a tool to help you. All right.
Mhm.
So find all the tools that would help you work. Remember, the structure for me is with my calendar. The structure with other people could be chaotic for me. So find the structure that works for you. But it's just a tool, right? It doesn't make you better, but it helps you get there.
Well, people think I'm crazy. Every calendar, every calendar on every phone that I have, as well as on each and every computer I got, are all synced.
Right.
My whole life is there
Right.
because I know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Right.
And if I miss something, then I feel like I've just done the worst thing in the world. I've committed a sin.
I got you. I got you. It feels incomplete. It's like, no, I didn't get to cross that off. I need to go back. No, it's
Yeah,
frustrating. Yeah, I follow. And that's your structure, right? And it works for you. And that's why you're very meticulous about it, right? Because
right.
it works for you. So as a
Yeah.
new entrepreneur getting into business, right? Or somebody's getting into sales, you need to find a structure that would work for you. And sometimes it's not that you have to create the structure beforehand. It's one
Mhm.
of those things where you create the structure as you go along. You figure it out, right? I can't give you a template for it. My template might not work for you.
Right. Exactly.
if you do the work and you stick with the things that you say you're going to do, eventually you're going to create that structure and you're going to build that structure and you'll have your own template that works for you.
What trends do you foresee shaping the future of B2B sales, and how should entrepreneurs prepare for them?
Um, we have the introduction within the last couple of years of artificial intelligence, and I see that that is definitely a trend that it's picking up significantly. And I would advise that new entrepreneurs get familiar with some of them because it has thousands of different AI tools out there. Get familiar with some of them that would probably work well with you and the business that you want to get into or the type of sales that you do, and see how you can utilize it to your advantage. Because AI, again, it's a tool. It's not going to give you success. It's just a tool to help you be more efficient. So it's probably more something for time saving scenarios, right? To help you get an answer or an idea quicker or a result quicker. So utilize those tools, get familiar. Sometimes it's as simple as Googling what type of AI tool should I use to do XYZ task. And ideas would pop up in Google. It would pop up on TikTok because a lot of people use TikTok as a search engine now. So,
Mhm.
you know, find the AI tools that will work for you because that trend has picked up and it's taking off and it's going to grow in the future, right? Less and less we are having to rely on doing things and figuring out things for ourselves. We now have things that would help us do that and get to the solution much faster.
Mhm. So, what is your personal opinion of AI?
Um, Simple as that. It's a tool. I utilize one or two of them just for ideas, right? And it helps me figure out some answers. Sometimes with I want to get an idea for a new business. It
Mhm.
gives me an idea of how to lay out or structure or approach doing the research for that business as well, right? Um, I like it. My personal opinion is I like it and I think it should be embraced. I have a lot more to learn as well because there's so much that I have yet to explore that I haven't explored. So I'm still on a learning journey as we speak. So, I encourage people to jump on that train and learn how to do it, how to use it.
Why do you think so many people are afraid of it?
Um, a lot of people, generally speaking, right? It's not. I don't think it's everybody, but generally speaking, people are afraid of things that they don't understand.
Mhm.
And when you don't understand something, you're afraid of it. When electricity first came out, people was afraid of it. Now we all use it, right? So I say, work through the fear and try with one, and if you like it, it will start to open your mind and expand on testing more and more, and then you realize, okay, it's not so fearful. We do have security issues with hacking and these kinds of things. Yes, it's a real concern, but if you take your time and you do it safely, or people who could guide you safely, talk to them and they'll help you out, so you could dip your toes in the swimming pool first before you dive in, feel the temperature. And then when you dip your toe in, you realize not so bad, you'll dip your foot in, and then you'll go deeper up to the knee height, then the waist height, and take your time with it.
Mhm. So, if you can divulge this information, can you tell us what new projects are you working on?
Um, I'm presently working on an online business, a retail business for baby products. All right. I see. Let me test something here, something new and different, because if the world's population is growing, everybody's having babies. It's a product that they might be interested in utilizing. Now, is it very saturated? Are there many baby product websites out there? Yes. What do I have to do differently? Marketing and content creation. So if I could find a way to build upon that, I'm actually working with a team, um, and we're putting together some materials right now, and it should be out soon. The website is live already. People can go online and they could purchase from the site, but the marketing side of it too, I'm still working on some tweaks, but the site is very active. It's called kiddiecuddles.com, Kiddie, cuddles, Kuddles.com. Check it out, see some stuff that has their products, clothing, and stuff. It's a new product, it's something different. And as an entrepreneur, you have to try new things, you have to try new businesses. Maybe it might be successful, maybe it won't. But at the end of the day, um, being an entrepreneur means that you need to take risks, try different things, and work hard at it, and make sure that at least it's successful. If not, you learn what not to do, then you do it better when you try it again.
Is it for infants or is it for toddlers, or how does it range?
It's both infants, toddlers. It's some of it are toys, some of it wearable items. It's a mixture of a range of products.
And make sure they know what your website is again, that they need to go check this out at.
Kiddiecuddles.com. Kiddie Cuddles with a K. Kiddie and Cuddles. Kuddles as well.
And so, how do you measure success in your career, both personally and professionally?
Personally and professionally, I look at results. So in terms of, if I'm a person, I've always been like this. If I set my mind to do something, I do it. I don't change my mind. If I set my mind to do something a certain way, I do it that way. And I only change my mind if I see a better idea come along or somebody gives me a better idea. Right? But other than that, I stick with it until I see it through. Even if it doesn't work out, I stick with it until I see it through. Um, and I think I utilize that and apply that in my professional life as well. So I stick with it and I see it through. It's a habit I think I picked up from my dad when he was alive, where okay, you're gonna do something, do it, and make sure it's done. But when I was in school, I had a principal. She used to always tell us this word, that in order to succeed, you need to be able to stick with what you're working at, and she used to call it stick to itiveness. Right? So if we have that stick to itiveness, we'll achieve success, and that has always stuck with me ever since.
Oh wow! So that means that you've always had discipline and structure.
I think so. I think I've had the discipline and structure to work towards the goals that I want to work towards, and it's got me this far. And I don't think I'm where I want to be as yet, because I always have goals to work towards. But I think so far it's worked out, and I will stick to it.
Stick to itness. What resources, books, podcasts, mentors do you recommend for someone interested in advancing their skills in B2B sales?
Oh, I would definitely utilize books and YouTube videos. At least that's what I did. There's a lot of books. I can't even tell you where to begin that I can call out that you can read. The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. Um, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Um, uh, Think and Grow Rich. 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Right?
Mhm.
Um, that's just a touch of the books. The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. But then when
Okay.
I go on YouTube, I got to look at people like Les Brown. And you
Mm.
look at some of his old videos from the 1990s, the early 1990s. You look at that, right? Um, he was a major influencer in terms of me being motivated. Yes, let me try this. Let me go forward and do these things. Um, you'd say things like, aim for these stars, because if you fall short, you land among the clouds, that kind of thing. And those quotes used to really stick with me. So, Les Brown is a really influential, impactful person I'd follow. Tony Robbins is another person I follow. Jim Rohn, who was actually a mentor to Tony Robbins when Tony Robbins was young. Those are some people that I would definitely recommend to get a motivation to go forward and pursue the goals that you want to pursue. Like, look at one of those things, and as soon as you're done looking at one of those things, make sure you have a task lined up that you want to execute right after you finish looking at one of those videos. And trust me, you're going to do it 10 times better than if you were to approach it without looking at one of those videos.
Hmm. Now that's interesting. I've never got the opportunity to actually go and see a Les Brown speech, but I have saw a lot of them via video, or I've saw a part of one on YouTube. But I've always wondered what was what was the real thing that he's actually putting out, because a lot of people say he's really inspirational. And so, I want to see him in person so I can actually get that actual feeling, because I liked what I saw on the video, but I
Yeah.
want to see him in person.
I saw him in person in London back in 2013, right?
Okay.
And I mean, going to those events, that event had a really good lineup of speakers. They had Brendan Bouchard, they had Les Brown, they had Andy Harrington, they had quite a number of good speakers at that particular event. It's very energetic, but it's also very salesy as well, because they try to sell you on their courses and products and stuff like that at the end of their speeches, which is good, right? Choose what you want to sign up for that you know would help you with your success, right? Um, so definitely find a way to do that. But again, for somebody who's a new entrepreneur and you don't have the resources, you can't afford to fly to another part of the world or another part of the country, just go on YouTube and look up one of their videos. A Les Brown speech that runs for an hour, that probably was recorded in the early 90s, was some of the best ones that I like looking at. I started to look at so many of them that I realized that, okay, a lot of them I'm picking up the same things that he's saying.
Mhm.
And it was repetitive, but it was repetitive in a way that was very much reminding me of what I need to be doing. So just use your phone, watch one of those videos, and go ahead with it. If you could, just go on their websites. They always are speaking at some different conference, um, and you can see where the conference is happening. And if you could go, attend it in person. It's a good networking place as well.
Mm. What role does technology play in enhancing B2B sales effectiveness, and how do you leverage it in your strategies?
I'm actually very simple when it comes to the technology because of the work that I do, right? The training and development, I'm very face to face and hands on. I do more trainings in person with teams rather than virtually, okay? Because for me, the effectiveness is the style that I use when I'm training, my training style, my teaching style. So in terms of technology, it's less. I don't use that much technology because when I'm working with a team, I'm in a classroom, basically. It's a conference room or a classroom. Um, but when it comes to the marketing and branding side, that's where the technology is used. And it comes back to the content creation and utilizing the social tools, knowing where the customers could find you. Um, One thing that I know colleagues of mine utilize, they use different CRM tools to help them track their sales and track their customers and conversations and stuff like that. And they need it more than me because their databases are much larger, right? My database is how to say it, a niche one, right? So it's not that big. I could be a lot more hands-on with it, but because they have larger databases, they deal with hundreds or even thousands of people. You need to utilize CRM tools and uh, yeah, different kinds, Salesforce and so on, that you could use to help you be better at tracking different things when it comes to your customers, your progress, your sales process, where customers are in your pipeline, and sometimes it tracks even what's not working. And if you know how to use AI, it can give you suggestions as to how to improve upon those different areas as well. So is it useful? Is it helpful? Yes, it is. Do I have to use it personally as much as my colleagues? I would say not yet, right? I'm probably not at that level, but when I do, I know I would have to use it much more.
I almost made that mistake.
Which was what?
To I was looking at CRM systems,
Yeah.
and even though I do various things, it's like, I just wanted to have it because of what it does. But then come back to think about it as you just put it, it was like, well, wait a minute. I might be doing some things, I might be doing different things, but I'm not really there yet.
Yeah.
So that will probably do me more harm than good.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I decided not to, but I mean, I found myself always like playing with the CRM system because it is so intriguing to me, you know, and just learning how to do that because that's so many things and so multifaceted that I think only a salesperson can really teach you how to use that
Because they're
because
using it.
right,
Yeah, and
right,
and and I think not unless if you're in it and you have to work with a lot of people, a lot of customers. I think that's when it comes in handy. But I'm not discounting the fact that if you don't have a lot of customers, it won't work, right? You just need to know what is your style, what works best for you in this day and age, 2024, and be aware of how things are changing so that if you know, okay, I need to make the shift and adapt to it now, you have the knowledge to make that shift and adapt. For someone who's a new entrepreneur who's now getting into business and now getting into sales, do I recommend it at this point in time? No. My recommendation is to start by creating a brand, building your brand, creating content, and doing a sales course and understanding how to talk to people and get sales. Get the ball rolling, get the momentum going. You don't need to know the little details as yet, right? Is accounting very important for your business? Yes. But do you need to be looking at the books and looking at the numbers rigorously at the start? No. What you need to do is you need to start getting sales in your business. You need to start selling. Everything else will fall into place. All right.
yep.
The administration of your work, where you file your documents and all these things, all of that will come afterwards. Don't worry about the processes and the logistics as much as it is that you should be getting sales and making sure you have the supply.
So how do you handle objections effectively in sales, and what advice do you have for overcoming common objections?
Objections in sales are roadblocks. And it's roadblocks in the form of resistance, meaning that the customer is resisting what you're saying or what you're telling them at this point in time. And it could be for a number of different reasons. They're challenging and resisting you because they want to see if they can squeeze you for a better deal, or they're challenging and resisting because they don't see the value as yet, right? And if they don't see the value as yet, it's like, why am I spending so much money for something that I think could be worth less, less than what you're priced at.
Yeah.
So to overcome that or to handle it in the first place is that you should not get emotional. And it's a stickling point for people who are new entrepreneurs and new to sales, is that they get very emotional at that point. Not that they'll cry or get argumentative, and fight the customer, but they get emotional in the sense that they need to feel like they need to defend their product or defend their service. And when they start to feel that defensive, they start to talk more, and that is what helps them lose the sale. All right. The key thing is to handle it now. The second part of your question is to not defend the product. All right. Try to understand why the customer feels what they're feeling right now. Right. Get down to knowing what's making them resist, what's holding them back. Like, why do you feel this way? And you know what? By talking with the customer, you'll get to understand more. You get to understand the customer more, and that would help you come to a solution better with them. But if you're defensive and you're trying to defend your product and you jump into a rant and rave about, but your product has this, you're getting this and have that and have that, you're just giving them data. And people don't process data, they process emotion, right? Your emotions going up and you're just chugging data down their throat. They're not going to see value. Calm down. I understand that they gave me an objection. Say, all right, let me try to understand why does he give me this objection. Why do you feel this way? You talk to them. When you talk to them, you come to a solution much better, because now you don't have to give them all that data. You don't have to defend. You work together with the customer, and I think it will work out better.
And so, looking back on your career, what would you consider your proudest accomplishment and why?
When I started off to get into training and development, it wasn't to become um, a well-known sales trainer. Initially, it was because when I was in sales and car sales, the dealership was a BMW dealership. I've over the years had experienced these guys from Europe flying in to train us. And I used to enjoy the training because I'm like, this guy is getting to fly all over the world and train people on these cool cars. And I want to do that. And I set myself up to do that. So in 2012, I said, okay, I'm going to leave car sales. And I was one of the top three salesmen in the company, right? I left and I say, I'm going to pursue that. At the time, the opportunity wasn't available. So when I left, I was unemployed. And I was like, okay, I'm home. I have a little bit of savings. What could I do? Well, I don't want to get into sales again. I want to get into training. So I know how to sell. Maybe I could train people to sell. So I called up my same customers who bought BMWs from me but had companies with staff. And I said, hey, Charles, what if I come and I train your staff to sell the same way I convince you to buy your BMW?
Mm.
It was an easy sell because I already had the customer, I already had the relationship with him or her, and they were like, "Yeah, come, let's do it," because you were really good at what you did, and it started from there. And a couple of years into doing that, I kept in touch with some of the BMW guys, and then they came back to me and say, "Hey, Adrian, we're ready for you. Let's try you out." And now I'm doing it. In fact, I've been touring the US. I was in Atlanta just a couple months ago doing some training, and I'm coming back again later in the year to do some more as well. So yeah,
Okay. Well, you gotta make sure you let me know when you're here.
I will. I will. I will be there in October. I already have
Oh,
my date set.
okay. That's what's up.
Yeah. So yeah, I know I'm a certified BMW Group trainer, and I think that was my biggest accomplishment. It was a goal that I set that I thought was impossible, but I think I was, and I still am the only certified BMW trainer from the Caribbean.
Mm. Well, hey, there's a reason when you set standards and you got goals, you accomplish. And when you accomplish, everybody has to take notice, especially when you're in the industry in which you're in, because
Exactly.
that really means a lot. And that's why, these people that are listening to you now need to understand that they're listening to one of the top sales trainers, a salesman in the world.
Stick to itiveness. That's a key word.
Stick to itness.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And so, in closing, is there anything else that you like for the audience to get from this second wonderful training that you've given them at this time?
I would say we've all learned growing up, going to school at some point in time, even from our parents or grandparents, that if you made a mistake, you'd be punished for it. You'd make a mistake, you'd see consequences. And it has created a fear in us all our lives that, mistakes are bad. If you're getting into entrepreneurship, you're probably gonna triple down or quadruple down on those mistakes, and you're going to make a whole lot more mistakes. What I want you to do is I want you to embrace those mistakes and, in fact, shift your mindset and start thinking, I need to make a mistake, and I need to make a mistake soon, because the sooner I make the mistake, the faster I can rectify it and do better with a different approach. So start looking forward to making mistakes and change your approach. Start looking at it as a positive thing. You're no longer in school. You're no longer under your parents' roof. You're not going to be punished for making mistakes, right? That mentality, we were conditioned with it all our lives. And a lot of people, they go through adulthood with that same thinking. That's why they don't take risks. That's why they don't start businesses. They want a security net of having a salary at the end of the month, being an employee. But if we're looking at this podcast and we want to be entrepreneurs, you got to know that mistakes is a part of life, mistakes is a part of business, and if you want to be successful, you definitely need to face them head on and fast and break through it quickly to find the way to do it the right way and stick to it because you'll get it.
Mm-hmm.
Stick to it and then you'll succeed. Okay? So make mistakes, embrace mistakes. That's the biggest takeaway that I want people who's looking at this to go away with.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. One of the top salesmen in the world, Mr. Adrian Havelock. I want to thank you for your time coming back to the show. And hopefully there will be another time and we could actually cover another topic because, you truly have done, with these two shows, you've done some really wonderful work for people that really want to get into entrepreneurship. And I definitely appreciate you coming on the show.
I'd love to come back on the show. You just let me know when you're ready and we'll make it happen.
Yes, sir. And so for those that have joined us, I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this show. Those that are watching on the YouTube channel, please hit the subscription button and also hit the notifications button as well. So in case you miss a show, you're able to catch it at any time you'd like to catch it. And I appreciate you all for taking out the time. And we are going to do a special show tomorrow. The show that was not done yesterday, which was we're going to talk about the 2024 election. That's going to be a special show tomorrow. So those that have the time, please tune in tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern time as we, again, take control of our own destiny and do what we have to do. We'd like to thank Mr. Adrian Havelock, and I tell you all again, please do what you're supposed to do. Try to make the best decisions that you can because nobody's perfect. But when you stick to what you want to do and you accomplish what you need to accomplish, just remember it was you that put forth the effort. Thank you all again. And please have a wonderful evening. And thank you again, Mr. Havelock. I'll talk to you a little bit later.
Okay. Bye bye.